I start here? It's been so long. Call to order the Public Safety Standing Committee meeting today on September the 10th, 2024 at 4:09 p.m. And happy to see everyone here today and those out in the listening and watching audience. Roll call. We have Alderwoman O'Neill from Ward 2.
Present.
And Alderman Gay is not here. Approval of the agenda with any changes to the agenda should be made here. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve today's agenda.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Business and miscellaneous, approval of the minutes. Regular minutes, PSC 12.4.23. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from December?
Motion to approve 12.4.23 minutes.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I hear no opposition. Appointments and reappointments, AP-12-24, reappointment of Mr. Joseph Semo, Police and Fire Retirement Commission. And we have with us today Ms. Hillary Rathbich, Rogio Radzovich, here from our office of the mayor.
Mr. Joe Semo is up for reappointment. Mr. Semo he's actually been the chair of this board since 1989. I think he is my longest standing board or commission member in the city, or at least in the top 5. He represents the police union. The Retirement Plan Commission has its seats designated, and this seat is designated for the bargaining unit represented by Police Union UFCW Local 400. Mr. Semo has his undergraduate degree from Wharton at University of Pennsylvania and his law degree from George Washington University, and has an extensive resume representing unions and others, and served as the executive director of the National Employee Benefits Institute from 1991 to 2003, so yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Alderwoman O'Neill, do you have any questions?
No questions. I would make a favorable recommendation to reappoint Mr. Joseph Semo.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. We will be submitting Mr. Semo's name to the full council at our next meeting.
Thank you very
so much. Ms. Hillary, appreciate it. Next matter on the agenda, general discussion, ID 8-24, Annapolis Office of Emergency Management Department, OEM update from our chief, Mr. Kevin Simmons, and Ms. Nicole Reyes. Welcome. And we acknowledge our Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Carrie Berger, who's always here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Happy National Preparedness Month, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
And the Public Safety Committee members. I want to update you on some of our activities for National Preparedness Month. And this is a special occasion because to my left, Nicole Torres, this is her last public safety meeting, her last presentation as she's moving on to a new adventure in life.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You will be very much missed.
Thank you.
And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Nicole to give an update.
So I would like to highlight for you 2 of the activities that will be running throughout National Preparedness Month. The first one is going to be a test of our Alert Annapolis community notification system, which will be on September 24th, beginning at 2 p.m. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the community notification system, this is what we use for the phone calls, text messages, and app notifications that go out to city residents in the event of an emergency. Some examples might be for power outages, if we had an escaped prisoner, if we had tornadoes that came through our area, letting the folks know where to go and what preparedness efforts that should be made. This will be an all-call test to the City of Annapolis residents. We've made efforts to contact local HOA boards, houses of worship in the city, different business and civic organizations as well, letting them know and informing them about this test. We also have a reminder up on our app, and we've updated our website So we are just spreading the word that this test will be happening. It's going to be only a test. No action is required for the general public. And like I said, it'll be happening September 24th at 2 p.m. So spread the word. Would appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Torres, this is an annual event, but it sounds like it gets more and more robust every year. Is that correct?
So this is the first time we are conducting a test, but our National Preparedness Month efforts do get more robust every single year. We are very excited about this test because it is the first time we're conducting an all-call test for the residents. So to put that in perspective, it is about 43,000 registered phone numbers that we have in our system. So we are very excited to be reaching out to them.
Are we also partnering with the county and the state as well on this effort, or they do their separate events?
They will be doing their separate National Preparedness Month events. In regards to this test specifically, this will only be for the city of Annapolis. However, we have notified our partners.
Okay, great.
Our-
Alderwoman O'Neill,
No, I have no question.
no questions?
No question. Our second activity that we'll be doing is that we'll be conducting a survey to the City of Annapolis residents for National Preparedness Month, where we are going to be asking them questions about how prepared are they? What information do they have about the Office of Emergency Management? Do they know the services that we provide to them? Just to gauge and see how we are doing as a department, and in turn, what we can improve upon and where we can reach out more. So we're very excited to get the results of that, and they'll be running through the end of the month as well.
Okay. All right. Any
Great.
questions?
No question.
No
I think that's
questions.
amazing.
Yes, congratulations on a very small team, but a very tough team, and a team that works extremely well with all of our departments to make sure that we're safe, that we are notified of what's going on. And I've said this at least 200 times, and I'm going to say it again, and I know I go back in history and commend you all on what you did for this city during COVID. We couldn't have had done it. We could not have done it without you. The Monday meetings with the businesses, the Tuesday meetings with the staff and our partners on the state and county level, and all the different guests you brought in, as well as the HR Wednesday meetings. It has bode well for our city, and people need to know what only a few soldiers can do when put to the test. And you all, again, have done a magnanimous job, and we're really proud to have you here in the city working as hard as you do, keeping everybody safe and prepared when we really do need it. But that, to me, was the pinnacle of your success. And I, like I say, I've said it at least 100 times, if not more, to many, many people. It's worth repeating over and over and over again. So thank you all so much. Chief Simmons, do you have anything to add?
Oh, no, just thank you for what you said, and we were kind of riding on the shoulders of many folks that are sitting behind me now. It was a collaborative effort, and it was pretty tough, and we did pull it through, even the council members, everybody. It was an effort with all of us. So, yeah, we did it.
And the same with the tornado. I'm forever grateful, especially with Ward 3, who got hit the hardest. That was something I never seen before, and honestly, got home and didn't know what to do. And you said, we got this, and you took care of it. And those are the things that people need to be reminded of. When they call and they want certain services, and we provide them as best we can, as soon as we can, but people need to be reminded on the other larger things, but the smaller things as well. And that it's worth noting, and worth noting over and over again, like I said. But thank you all again so much.
So one of the big things about the tornado you bring up was the fact that based on a tornado, based on that area being underrepresented and low income, based on the fact that a lot of those properties were not insured or uninsured, based on the fact that the folks in Edgemere could recover with insurance and they couldn't, we were able to go to the General Assembly and get the State Disaster Recovery Fund enacted. And then Governor Moore came in, he funded it, not enough, but he did fund it. So we have a fund now. So if something like that were to happen again to an underrepresented community, then we have funds to go to and help them recover like the more wealthy communities.
All right.
So if I could go over a couple more items.
Certainly.
So it's been a while since we talked about the overdose data, and I just want to give you an update on the overdose data. And this is from January 1st through August 27th, 2024. Non-fatal overdoses in the city of Annapolis, we've had 54. Fatal overdoses, folks died, 6. So that's a total of 60 overdoses this year until the end of August. Breakdown in wards. Ward 1 had 4 overdoses, Ward 2, 7, Ward 3, 13, Ward 4, 16, and that's the highest overdosing ward that we have. Ward 5, 1, Ward 6, 13, which Ward 6 is coming down. Ward 7, 2, and Ward 8 is 4.
So the ones we need to focus again on is 3, 4, and even those 6 is coming down.
6 is
Still.
coming down, but we need to keep our eyes on 6
Right.
as well.
And we've had those discussions about 3, especially as well as 4. So that's something we're going to have to continue to work on, to see where they're coming from, why maybe, and to put some resources in those spots and at those times. So that's another discussion for another day.
Yep, and I think what makes a difference in Ward 6, and we're starting to see a benefit from it, is the harm reduction vending machine that we have there in the community center. And that's been a big success. And it's the first vending machine in the community in Anne Arundel County. So that's been pretty good.
And we've been trying to find a location in 3, which is difficult because it's climate controlled, as you have indicated. And so that makes it a bit more difficult.
I got 2 places
Oh,
in
good.
mind. So we
Okay.
just need to work it out with the health department.
Okay.
You know, if
And how about Ward 4?
that might be a little bit of a challenge
Okay,
right now, but we'll try to work through that.
okay.
But
Oh, certainly. Mhm. Yes, Alderwoman O'Neill.
So in regards to the overdose, or the harm reduction vending machines, do we have data on how often those are being refilled?
it's up to the health department to do that. They keep it refilled every time I'm around in that area. I check it out, and it's always has more than enough materials. Not only the harm reduction stuff, but it has, it has masks, it has test kits, opioid testing kits, etc. So, pretty decent success with that.
Th-
Thank you.
That's, excuse me. So what you're saying is when that was installed, you could start to see the decline?
I've seen a decline recently in the numbers because typically Ward 6 would be skyrocketing,
Right.
followed by, depending on what year it is, Ward 3 or Ward 4. But now I'm seeing Ward 4 skyrocketing. 3 is kind of staying level, flat, and then 6 is coming down.
Okay.
6 is
So,
coming down.
yeah, we can certainly explore the locations and talk about that soon.
And just some other data for overdose. This time last year to date, it was 80 in 23, and it's 24 is 60, so that's a 25% decrease. And fatal overdoses, it was 7 in 23, and it's 6 in 24, so we're seeing a decrease there. Overall, when you look at Anne Arundel County, the health department is reporting that all total overdoses are decreasing by 38%, and fatals are decreasing by 31%.
Are they attributing it to, do they have vending machines in the county as well?
They have vending machines, but I know they have it on Jennifer Road Correctional Facility. They have it at the library and places like that. Far as I know, and that may have changed, that we're the only ones that have it in a community, right? So is there any question about overdoses?
None for me, Alderwoman O'Neill.
No, thank you.
So a couple other items, if I can
Oh, keep going, yeah.
Yeah. So we're in the process of hiring an additional planner. The Finance Committee and the council approved an additional planner to our existing staff. That's going to be instrumental in our 60-plus plans that we have to keep up. We're in the second round of interviews. We should have somebody in place by the end of September.
All right, great.
Stanton Center Warm and Relief Program, we started that process and preparing and prepping for the Stanton Center Warm and Relief Program. We've had having meetings with our partners to make sure we have all the necessary resources. What's new this year is that County OEM will be opening a warming center as well on Crane Highway.
Okay, Glen Burnie, okay.
Yep. So we plan to work together, mirror operations. Having that second warming center in the county would take some of the burden off the Stanton Center program. Remember, we were overwhelmed last year. Alderwoman O'Neill, you know that personally. We were overwhelmed last year. Just some data from last year. Our referrals or overnight stays were up 164% in the 22-23 compared to the 22-23 season. We've had overnight activations. We had 92 compared to 84 the previous year. Day activations where it was so cold we had to stay open for 24 hours, that was 5. Night referrals, the people that stayed overnight, each referral was 1,440 compared to 876 the previous year, right? So you can see the activity we have, and that opening up that second center in Glen Burnie is going to help us out because everybody comes our way, and all. Some notable accomplishments for the winter relief season: we moved a family of 4, including 2 small children, to alternative housing and confirming the children were enrolled in school. Successfully working with partners to move 24 winter relief referrals into alternative housing. So we're just not sheltering folks where we can. You know, we try to get them transitioned into housing, temporary housing, alternative housing as well. Anne Arundel County Food Bank and Grump's Cafe provided food throughout the duration of the winter months for all the referrals. The warming center staff consisted of individuals who were all trained in the Maryland Overdose Response Program with Narcan. They were trained with CPR, thank you, fire department, and first aid. And most of all, nobody died from exposures on the street of Annapolis.
Again,
Again, that's our motto. Nobody dies from exposure on the streets of Annapolis. Flooding, OEM and partners managed 2 major floods since our last public safety meeting. On January, we experienced flooding of 5.1 feet over normal, and that equated to be the 3rd biggest flood on record in the city of Annapolis since we've been keeping records. Early August, flood waters surged to 4.54 feet above normal level, making it the 8th biggest flood on record, and that was just a few weeks back. This is the first year in Annapolis history where we've had 2 top 10 flooding events. Now, Annapolis has already hit a record number of routine flooding this year. We're on track to have 120 flooding events of some kind this year. We're talking about 2.6 or greater. So if you look at that and you did the math, that equates to like flooding every 3 days. So we're waiting for the grant from FEMA to kick in so we can start the resiliency part of City Dock, which is the most important part. And if we don't do anything, and I think people don't understand this, if we don't do anything, the flood that we had in January, the 5.1, we'll get that once a day by 2050 if we do nothing. So it's important that we move with this project and support it. And in OEM, we're trying to find all the grant money that we can. It seems to be moving along pretty well. We think that the $30 million is going to come in maybe by spring or so. So we're hoping, fingers crossed.
and that 30 million would be for,
The resiliency part of this
Okay.
project
okay.
and all. So they're still doing some assessments and other things.
Okay,
So, we're working toward it. It's earmarked for us. Nobody can take it.
Oh,
They're
good.
not going to give it to anybody else. It's earmarked for it. So we go through our process and we have everything to satisfy FEMA, then they're going to write a check for 30 million.
okay.
I think it's 31 million.
All right, sounds good. Alderwoman O'Neill?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you started looking at your FY '26 budget?
I have.
Any
have.
reveals, or you don't have to at this point?
Every time I think about the budget, I try to be conservative, but my experience in my environment won't let me be. So to be continued. I have some thoughts. I'm not ready to talk about it now, but I've seen some needs. And the big thing about this is that I've had some conversation with my public safety partners. And I'm thinking like we can, instead of me going for something, we can partner that benefits all of public safety in this. So to be continued,
That's a great idea.
to be continued.
Okay, all righty. Wonderful, as always, great report. We really do appreciate everything that you do. Ms. Nicole, we will miss you again, but all the best to you in your next life cycle.
Thank you. It's been my honor and pleasure to work for the city of Annapolis. It's bring me great joy, and I will miss it very much.
Thank you, appreciate that.
We are going to miss you.
Yes. All right,
And thank you for your support.
certainly. All right. Next up is ID 7-24, Annapolis Fire Department update.
Is Amy trying to get up?
All right.
Good afternoon. Doug Romali,
afternoon.
Fire Chief. To my right is Nathan Powell, Deputy Chief Operations. To my left is Matthew Lopez, Deputy Chief of Administration and Professional Standards. We've had a lot going on since our last meeting. With the help of the mayor, the council, and the administration, with the successful budget that was passed, we've been able to make some changes within our department and some promotions. As you know, Chief Lopez came over as our second deputy chief about 6 months ago, maybe a little more. Since then, we've been able to, with the help of the council, promote a battalion chief of EMS, Emergency Medical Services and Safety. That position is about 75% of what we do is EMS, so we have a battalion chief in charge of that, and we filled the battalion chief of Special Operations. So we are getting people in positions to allow us to continue to move forward as a department. So we're sort of doing a reorganization. Maybe next meeting we'll be able to show you the workflow of how the department's going to go, but it's going to allow us to do a lot more strategic planning and planning for future events in the city as it comes to growth and the needs of the fire department and public safety throughout the city. So we're very excited about that. It's been a long time since we've had people in positions that we can actually do that. We felt over the years we're always playing catch up or keeping our heads above water. And this will allow us to finally have the right people in the right positions to continue to move us forward. And by doing that, we'll be looking at actual statistics-driven data to help us. As you know, the International Association of Firefighters Local 1926 provided you with a study on staffing needs of the Annapolis Fire Department. So we will take an in-depth look at that as we move forward with our strategic plan, and I'll be able to bring that forward to you. I left a copy in front of you there of a fire engine that's on order. The council approved that 2 budgets ago. That engine we went to pre-engineering just last week on. The hope is to have that pumper in service or actually delivered in the first quarter of the year, probably around April. It's been a long process. A lot of it has to do with demands of the products throughout the United States. Supply and demand has become a problem since COVID. It continues to be a problem with the workforce. And it's been 2 years in the making to get this engine. So It's hard for us to stay on this vehicle replacement budget because it takes so long to get these built. You all heard that through this last budget process that we just went through. But we're excited that this is actually moving forward. The copy of it is in front of you. I can tell you that if we ordered that fire engine today, it would be $250,000 more than what we paid for it. With that, we also have a medic unit that's on order that you approved last year's budget. So that should be hopefully in production and delivered by July of next year. And the budget that was in place from this current budget that's in, that's going to be what we call a re-chassis. So we're going to take one of our older units, use the box, the back part of that re-chassis, and have that redone, and it'll come back a brand new unit, and that should be coming in about the same time. So we're continuing to help our fleet, keep our fleet top notch, because as you know, you see them running up and down the streets every day.
Just for the edification of our audience, explain why it takes so long for these vehicles to come on to service.
So a lot of it is still a supply chain problem. I'll take the medic unit that's been on order from last year's budget. When we ordered that medic unit, they told us it was a chassis issue. So that the front part of it, the cabin chassis with the motor and all that, which comes from Ford, our units are Fords, they're on F-550 chassis, that was the holdup, and that would take, getting that was the problem, so that's why it was going to take 2 years to get the medic unit done. So we went back to them, said, hey, if we have a chassis, will you move us up in the production line? They said, yes, you should get moved up in the production line, you have a chassis. Well, the fleet manager provided a chassis for that medic unit, and it did not push us up in the supply chain, in the production line. After that, it was an issue with they didn't have enough people working on the plant to get it done, and just numbers that they had to build every year is just out there because people need to continue to buy them. So that's part of it. For the pumper, it's the same thing. The original plan was to have that built and in service within the 2 years. We're more than 2 years into this, and we're just going to pre-engineering on it. What I can tell you is now that we've gone to pre-engineering, once that's finalized and they get back to us with whatever changes we made, it should be like 180 days in production. So once it hits the production line, it'll start moving there. But the problem there went from not enough people on the plant floor to a problem with the axles. They couldn't get axles, and then they couldn't get radiators for the equipment. So that's an ongoing thing. But we see that throughout everything we're buying in the fire service. Fire hose. We've had fire hose on order for, I don't know, it's been almost a year. It's
Greater than.
we're coming up on that. So, and we need additional hose to go along with it, and we haven't gotten this hose yet. So we see that. The mobile radios for the fire apparatus and actually the police cars, if you buy a new mobile radio from Motorola right now, it's a 6 months build time on it. So it's a supply and demand problem throughout the United States. And some of it has to do with the workforce, some of it has to do with parts. I hate to blame anything on COVID, but it seems since COVID hit that it's just increased and it continues to be a problem. If we go to order a pumper today, they're telling us it would be a 3 to 4 year build time. So that's hard to do, and it hurts us when it comes to the vehicle replacement fund because we want to replace these units. We don't want to replace them at the same time because then they have to be replaced at the same time. If we buy them at the same time, a lot of times they got to be replaced at the same time. We tend to believe we are fiscally manageable for the budget, and we try to do that on an odd year basis, so we're not buying everything at the same time and it doesn't have to be replaced like that. So it continues to be a concern. We see that, we know it, and we're just doing everything we can to keep up with it.
So it's difficult to even budget. I mean, if you think it's going to take, or they're telling you it's going to take 3 to 4 years, you almost have to put it in the budget now and explain that to us as to why you're putting it in there, even though you're kind of anticipating that you're going to need it in 3 to 4. But I'm assuming you can't put anything on order until you get the budget okay from the council.
Yeah, we can't, and that's part of the concern. And the other thing is, because it's a problem throughout the United States, some of these bigger departments and organizations, they end up buying 3, 4, 10 pumpers at a time. So that pushes the people that are just buying one we still get in line, but when they order 10 at a time, so that's 10 in front of you or 10 behind you, so it continues to go there. But yes, exactly what you said. You saw it during this budget process. I know we went back and forth. You got some questions from some of your constituents about the fireboat. The fireboat it's not a new service we're trying to do. It's a part of our vehicle replacement budget. It'll be over 20 years old when we do replace it. That's right in line with where it was supposed to be in the budget and what's been planned out. And we had to order it now because we knew it would be that. Plus, prices continue to increase. And we know it's hard when we come to the council and say, hey, well, I used the boat for an example, that we need $1.5 million for a boat. We understand that. That's a big ticket item, but it's also a 15 to 20 year investment. The pumper that I just talked about that we paid 700 and some thousand for would be just under $1 million now. There's a big push for electric fire apparatus and changing everything to electric. Well, if we want to buy an electric pumper, which would be very similar to the engine that we just have on order, that's over $2 million build right now. So it's double the price where we could get two for the one. So we're aware of that, and we look at the infrastructure, and we know that there's a big push to go electric for the environment. We don't know that the technology continues to improve, and it's getting better every day, but there's a price tag that comes along with that. So we do, and when I was telling you earlier about putting people in positions to plan for the future, they look at that. They look at what's going on throughout the United States, the production line, the equipment that's out there, and what's going to be the best for us. As you know, we have streets that were built for horse and buggies. So we've gone from these very large fire apparatus. Now, we can't reduce our ladder trucks by much. That's the one that bends in the middle and there's a driver in the front and back. Well, we get that type of ladder truck to get down these streets. But our pumpers, we've gone back to a basic city pumper. We make them as small as we can because we know we have to get around Church Circle and we have to get around the lower end of Eastport and some of these downtown areas here that it's very tight. So we take all that in consideration when we try to budget for these items.
All right. Alderwoman O'Neill, any questions?
I do. I have 3 questions, 2 very serious and 1 not serious at all. So which one do you want me to start with?
We'll take the
Leave
serious
that one in the
ones.
middle.
I'll do the serious
We're
one
always
first.
serious. We're pretty well professional.
My first question is, and we spoke a little bit offline about this, but I'd like to just have it on record. We've recently, your department has been called to Morris Bloom when the elevators are down to assist residents getting up to the 7th and 8th floors. Can you just walk me through, a call comes in that it's not an emergency call, but it's somebody that can't walk up 7 flights of stairs. Who gets sent to Morris Bloom, and what is the process, and what is that doing to your staff for if there's other emergencies going on in the city?
Would you like to take that?
Sure. Thank you, Alderwoman, for your question. Just to recap, you would like to walk through the process of a non-emergent type response, specifically to the Morris Bloom high-rise for the elevator?
Okay.
Sure. When a citizen calls 911 or a non-emergency dispatch number, the call is vetted through the Anne Arundel County 911 system, loaded into the computer-aided dispatch. The dispatcher will ask a series of questions, and dependent upon how the caller answers those questions, is a predetermined matrix of what units will respond. So in recency, in the last couple of weeks when we've been called to Morris Bloom, it has been dispatching a fire engine with a crew of 3 and a medic unit with a crew of 2. Generally because the medic unit carries a device called a stair chair, which is a folding chair basically with tracks on it. It's a very, we'll say, a very technologically advanced wheelchair, so to speak, that aids us in moving persons up or downstairs. And the complement of 5 personnel is to ensure that we're employing safe lifting habits to prevent injury to our staff. So we're there, we'll help where we can. What it does to our other deployment model is we currently deploy 3 fire engines and 4 medic units as part of our complement. So while our units are there operating, they're committed there and unable to respond to other emergencies. If someone else, say in Alderwoman Pindell Charles's ward, were to call 911 having a heart attack, they may get not necessarily the most close response. They may get one from the next station back, we'll say, while the units are committed on the other less emergent call. As the calls come into the 911 center, they are prioritized, but once they're dispatched and shipped, generally we won't take units off of one to handle another. Unless they're a very close time proximity where no one's on scene yet, they may reorder. But typically, once a unit is on scene at Morris Blum, for example, they're committed to that mission until that mission's completed, and then we would just go through that process again for subsequent calls. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate it. We have talked a lot over the last couple of years about staffing. Can you talk about where you are in staffing? I know that you've had some promotions and changes. Can you talk about where you are? Are we?
I can tell you that for budgeted positions, we are fully staffed. So what the council has budgeted and allowed us to get, we are fully staffed. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the deputy chiefs. We are not running into the concerns that most of the jurisdictions around us have about not being able to get people. Anne Arundel County is getting ready to they've got a fire academy class graduating now. They're getting ready to hire 70 some more, and they have a lot of people that they need to replace. Beyond that, Prince George's County, we hear, is like 100 and some people down. They continue to have challenges hiring. We know that Carroll County is at least 70 people down. Well, what I can say is that for whatever reason, it seems that we have some excellent employees and they wear multiple hats, and we're very proud of that, and that's what makes our department so great. But people want to work for the city of Annapolis, and I think that's an attestament to. We know that the budgets are always a concern, and it's hard, and you do as best you can with that, but we are fully staffed. But with that, we don't meet the national standards for the number of people in the fire apparatus, and that's what you were hearing from the union, from the Annapolis Professional Firefighters. The ideal situation would be to have 4 people in every suppression piece. We don't have that currently. And we know that to do that, we have to look at either adding an additional 30-some people, which is very expensive, or look at shift schedules that we have now. So we plan on doing that and working with the union throughout this strategic planning process. We run a 3-person crew. When we have that 4-person crew, and all comes from the NFPA standards and the 1710 standard, and it allows you to send multiple units to make up that staffing, and that's how we meet the staffing levels, is to do it that way. But ideally, we would not. I would tell you as fire chief, and I'm sure the deputies would tell you also, that we want 4 people in every engine and truck company. That's ideally where we should be. There's studies out there that show how much more productive that crew of 4 is. And that's all related to emergency situations and structure fires and that type of stuff. That's where that staffing level comes from. We are confident and feel comfortable with what we are running currently, because to stay within budget, we're meeting that. But that's where the staffing levels are. But as for not being able to fill positions, we've been very successful. We had 4 people that are just getting out of Anne Arundel County's academy class. They're actually in the field because they had already had their medical certifications. 3 of them are paramedics, and 1 is EMT that's getting ready to go to paramedic school. So we actually have them in the field already. They actually graduate here maybe next month, I believe, middle of October. We have 4 firefighters in Prince George's County's Fire Academy class currently, and they are all working through that process, and they should graduate in December. And once we get them out in the field, they'll fill the positions there. None of those are new positions, though. It's all existing positions that were within the budget, and they were vacancies caused by either people leaving to go somewhere else or retirements.
Thank you. That's good news.
It is good news.
Could always be better, but good news. I appreciate it. Okay, my less serious question is this. I had family visiting from Colorado this summer, and one of them is a firefighter in Denver, and they want to know why our trucks are yellow and not red.
So that goes back to Chief Steele, who was the first career fire chief in the city of Annapolis. He was the first career fire chief was appointed in the 60s. I believe it was 1964. Back then, they did a study on what color was best seen for traffic. The yellowish fire apparatus was that. That was what was done during this study, and that's why they went to the yellow fire apparatus, and that's why Annapolis has become that. Anne Arundel County was a slime green color at the time because and it was all about, while responding to emergencies, what people's eyes see. Before that, we had several different colors in the city. The Rescue Hose Company was a burgundy engine with like a tan top or the ladder truck that came out of East Street, which was Waterwitch, was green, dark green. It was a real pretty green. So they were all different colors. But typically, when you go to the Eastport station during your Food Fridays, the red and white is a traditional color for the fire service, and Eastport was always that way. Eastport continued to buy when the fire apparatus they bought was red and white. The most recent city apparatus that we assigned to that station, we painted it red and white to match their colors, but that's why they're yellow. It was an actual study about safety back then, and we have stuck with that. And there's been some deviations and some people that have asked a lot of people like the red and white to go back to the red and white. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
And you mentioned Food Fridays, and I did want to say thank you to you and your staff. You took us in this summer when we needed housing for our packing and deliveries, and the guys were amazing, and gals that we worked with, and we really appreciated it. It was nice to feel so welcomed, and everybody was there to help, which I appreciated. Hopefully we didn't put too much of a burden on your operations.
I have not heard any, and I don't believe the deputies have heard of any concerns that were raised by that. We all know that it's a temporary opportunity there, and we're glad we could help. As you could see, as you're there, I hope maybe you could take a look out front to see what's going on with Heroes Park. I will mention that this Sunday there's a dedication for that park out front there that was done in cooperation with the Eastport Volunteer Fire Company, the Annapolis Professional Firefighters Local 1926 in the city, but the volunteers and the local actually raised donations, got grant funding for that, and that Heroes Park is going to be very nice, so that's going to be something there. So that dedication is this Sunday afternoon at 3:30 to do ribbon cutting. There will be bricks out there with people's names on them that bought bricks. There will be opportunities in the future for other people that if they want to buy a brick, that they can do that. They'll just have to, when people do apply, they're going to have a certain amount before they'll go back and replace the bricks. But it's becoming to be a nice memorial out front of that station. I think it enhances the landscape there. I think the Eastport community will like it because it makes the station look that much nicer. There's actually walkways now where people always cut across that front lawn to go into Eastport into their communities, and there's, it's a dirt path. There's now brick sidewalks there. I know that the station captain there has asked for some of your help because they're trying to get in that sidewalk down to Jefferson Street side, and that's still yet to be seen. But yeah, that's good, and we're proud of that and proud of that station there.
Thank you.
Glad we could help.
Yeah, good. That's great.
Chief, we don't want you to feel left out. You got anything to add?
We covered it all.
I'm a proud donor of a brick, and I can't wait to see it on Sunday. The strategic plan, can you kind of highlight, I know it's a lengthy plan, I have not had an opportunity to read it, 4 or 5 kind of highlights from that plan?
I'm glad you gave Chief Lopez the opportunity to talk about our strategic plan.
Good afternoon. So the strategic plan that we have on the books is 20 years old. We are now working to develop a new strategic plan. With the Chief's leadership, we've requested from the personnel in the department participation. We've got different tiers of committees to begin developing ideas of what we would like to see the department be in the future. The next phases will be to do surveys internally within this fire department and externally within the community to see if we are what the goals the community have of us, and are we meeting those goals, and where the community and we would like to see ourselves in the future. Ultimately, we're going to have a plan put together for the fire chief to present to you all, outlining over the next 10 years where we are, where we want to go, and the goals we're going to need to get there, the steps, the personnel, the equipment, where the fire service is trending, what we want to try and achieve. All the things that the fire chief has talked about with staffing and apparatus are going to be wrapped up into this plan.
Wow. It would be good, maybe, I don't know how we would do this, I guess, maybe a resolution or something of some sort at some point, and adopting the plan as a council, just kind of think about what mechanism we would use to do that.
I think we'll have plenty of time, because
Okay.
it's going to take some time to get the plan moving. As the chief said, we have multiple different personnel from within the department, different ranks, different diversities that are all going to be part of this, and so we'll see how that goes. But it's going to take some time to get this plan moving forward. As the chief told you, the current plan is over 20 years old, and we want to do it right, so we're going to make sure we do that. But obviously, as we get closer, we can bring it to the council and see if that's something that's needed.
Okay, all right. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked OEM. Are you looking at your FY '26 budget and reveal or not reveal?
So we don't have anything to reveal currently about the next budget cycle. I can tell you that every day, myself and the deputies hear from our command staff and also people in the field what they think is needed. Usually it revolves around some type of new equipment, and we'll continue to look at that as we move forward, but we're trying to get through our current plan now. I can tell you that we finally have some movement with some of the renovation projects. We've run out of office space just like everybody else in the city, so we've had to make some moves with office space. But the funding that you would put in this current budget in the capital outlay for the gym equipment at the Eastport Station, that project is moving along. They're getting ready to paint that room. I'm sorry, it's the Forest Drive Station. We did the Eastport Station last year. That project is moving along. The equipment's been ordered. They're getting ready to paint, put the air conditioning in there. We've moved our logistics office from Taylor Avenue to where the old maintenance shop used to be, since maintenance moved to fleet maintenance on Hudson Street. So that's going to allow our logistics person to have all the storage and stuff in one place. And the logistics officer is just that. They do all the ordering for the equipment in this department, and that could be station supplies to medical supplies to the turnout gear and the uniforms. So that's going to allow us to have a better space, where right now that we have stuff at transportation, we have stuff at the Eastport Station, we have stuff at the Forest Drive Station. So we're going to be able to consolidate some of that, and we're moving the logistics office into an office for 3 personnel at Taylor Avenue. I talked to Donovan, the civics engineer, earlier today to ask about the restroom facilities project. He says that is still moving for the Eastport Station. For the rear of the station where the company is there, we're going to go to unisex restroom facilities with a shower and a toilet facilities and a vanity in there, so it won't be a shared facility at that point where you have multiple people in one restroom. That facility is in desperate need and has been for some time. As you know, we've had problems with the female facilities. We've been able to increase them. The ones at Forest Drive are terrible. That's in this project now. So they have an architect that is putting the plans together to do that in both stations. And with that, it'll actually include lactation rooms for our female employees that have just had their babies and have an area to go in, and they can do what they need to do to express the milk and have their facilities there in private. And so that helps. So we're continuing to take our aged buildings and trying to improve them, because we know they're not going anywhere.
All right, and just to kind of put you on notice, Megan Locke, who is a reporter of the Capitol, reached out to me, I think it was last week, wanting to know the very questions I'm asking you. So I'll just point her to this meeting, and she can pick up whatever she'd like to. I think it would be helpful for the public to know through that medium as to what your priorities are, what you're looking for, and that sort of thing. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay,
We're good.
all right.
Thank you.
Alderman O'Neill, anything else?
Not for fire. just
Okay,
police.
all right. Thank you all so much. Okay, ID-6-24, Annapolis Police Department, update. Good afternoon, Deputy Chief and Captain.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Alderwoman O'Neill.
The mic.
You might,
Just let you know in reference to our vehicles, we're gonna be going to a camouflage pattern also. So,
I like that.
yeah, it's
we
about
can't
the
see
yellow
it?
vehicle, black vehicle, we're going to a camouflage, really make it controversial.
okay. Did you, just while I'm thinking, have you all wrapped a recruiting vehicle?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I saw that yesterday, and it passed me by, and I assumed that's what it was, so, okay.
Yep, it is a recruitment vehicle. We did a few months ago, and Officer Murphy, I think that's his vehicle that he drives throughout. He's the recruiter, and he used that as a primary vehicle.
Okay,
So just updates, equipment-wise, we started our motorcycle unit again. We bought 2 brand-new BMW motorcycles. We have one officer right now that's trained to do that. So far, he's been out ceremonially. He has used that for a few parades, and we also incorporated into some of our traffic enforcement, because we had quite a few complaints about traffic. So we've been using it strategically for those reasons and for those particular purposes. Also, our summer crime plan, one of the biggest problems we had going into the summer, as you remember, Copeland Street, we had the school shooting. We put together a summer crime plan. Our hopes was, which we were successful, is to make sure that we had a successful school closing and a school opening. So far, during the summer, we think we were pretty successful with that. We did put in place a unit to stay on that Bywater area in hopes of making sure whatever was going on that didn't continue, that was successful. And kids going back to school, we haven't had any issues whatsoever, knock on wood. And so that plan has worked pretty well. I think so far this year, I think we had probably two shootings, not in the schools, related to summer violence. Those cases have been, and you guys have been getting those updates as I sent them out to you when they happen, and those cases have been successfully cleared. We had a whole host of summer camps that we do every year. Those been successful. Fishing camp, of course, we had the winner of the fishing camp this year came in last night to get an award. That's something that we're proud of. Our community outreach continues to do those camps, and we still do them throughout the fall, and sometime in the winter we stop and get started again in the spring, so that's been pretty successful. We have asked the University of Maryland to come in to do a study for us, which is a work study for us, to see what our workforce looked like. We did meet with them a couple months ago. We'll be meeting back with them again in the fall. Most of what they talked about when they met with us the last time we met was just getting some data on some of the things we're looking for the growth of the city. And as we continue to take a look at that, we want to really dig into what the size of the agencies should be, what kind of resources we should have for public safety. The chief believes that the agency is too small, so we're looking for some growth in that. At some point in time, University of Maryland will have a update for this body to make sure that they understand what that process is and what we're looking at. The biggest thing that we have, I don't know if you know that Rhonda McCoy is leaving at the end of this month. And right now, we're in the process of looking to revamp that position. Look like so far, we talked about Lieutenant Hill, who is in charge of internal affairs right now, probably taking Rhonda's position. And we're going to be looking probably to hire someone for internal affairs. That would be a civilian taking over that position. Other than that, we don't have a whole lot of updates. I mean, crime been going well, and we're good.
Okay.
You
All
got
right.
anything to add to any of that?
Yeah, Captain McGinnis?
Just, we've been busy hiring, so our current staffing is 111 out of 124 authorized. We've lost a couple people to going to other agencies. One was a lateral that is going back to the agency he came from to us, and then the other one is going to the Anne Arundel County Police. But we do have the bonus now for new hires. So we have 3 people currently in the academy who started in 2024 who are going to be eligible to get that $20,000 bonus over 5 years. So I think that is really helping. We've made a lot of hires, but we've had some retirements. We're definitely having 5 more retirements at the end of the year. So it's going to be tough to keep up with the losses. But we're trying to do the best we can. We're also having other positions hire. So we have some open positions. Did you want to talk about Peggy?
Peggy? No, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
So the chief secretary is retiring. So that's a big position that we're filling internally. We're just getting started with that process. We have a couple other positions that were allowed. One that's still in the works is a grants administrator position, which I think will really help us maximize our grant opportunities. We were able to get several grants like we usually do. We just applied to a new grant to fund another position. It's really helpful when we have civilians in positions where they're needed, because then we can put officers on the street. And then also we'll have a civilian in that position who's going to stay there, whereas officers will, move on to other things if they get promoted or they're needed somewhere else. So the knowledge that they gain in the position they're in, if they're in a somewhat specialized non-law enforcement position, it can get lost.
Now, the grants administrator position, tell me a little bit more about that. Is that one of the positions we had kind of discussed about trying to fund, whether it's an administrator or a manager or a writer?
We did put that in the budget. We do now have a part-time grant administrator. However, we need someone full-time and someone there on staff. It's just kind of difficult to get that done with a part-time, and we need somebody to be able to do it full-time, be able to look at those opportunities and be able to manage. Right now, our grants are being managed by several different people within the agency, and we need to kind of consolidate to make sure it falls under one umbrella so we don't bifurcate a lot of that stuff.
Are you looking, is that one of the things that you may be looking in the FY26 budget for?
Well, what we need is a grant writer and a grant manager. Right now, we have in the budget for one position. Ideally, if we could put it back in there, yes. I know Captain Miguez has sent out to everybody in the agency because she want to start the budget process sooner rather than later. She put out information for people to send back what their needs are. I think the big need for us in that area is to have 2 people, one to manage and one to also to be able to write those grants. That would be a big help. So we probably would be putting that back in the budget.
So that's something I'm going to pass on to the Capitol reporter, Ms. Megan, because that's what she reached out to me for. And I'll just have her kind of look at this tape. She can take a look at it and glean from what she wants to write from this meeting. So anything else that we need to know? We're going to go into the holiday season soon, and I guess you'll have a crime plan for the holidays.
Well, yes, because we know sometime during the holidays, crime kind of tick up, especially when it comes to robberies and thefts. So we're going to have a crime plan for that. We were successful with the summer crime plan. So number one priority is property and preservation of life. So we'll make sure that we have that crime plan out. What we will do, we'll share that with this body again, but the last time we shared that, it got out broadly to the community, so we asked if we do share that with the city council to please keep that as for your information only.
Okay. Because it's good to look at it now and kind of strategically plan out what you might want to do. And that kind of gives a heads up, and we already have Alderwoman O'Neill who's on the Finance Committee, so you do have a leg up.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Thank you very much. 2 questions, I think. I try to write them down, and then I have to find out where I wrote them. Well, one is not a question, one is a kudos, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Your cadets are amazing. The 2 cadets that we've had all summer, Brendan and Adam, thank you, Adam, are simply what we want, and I'm hoping that they will progress themselves into roles in the city because they have come week in and week out. There have been times when they've delivered upwards of 35 or 38 boxes in one day because I was short drivers, and they did it with a smile and they did it without complaining, and it was just a yes, ma'am. So please tell them that we are so appreciative of them. And I know for a fact that there are residents that love seeing them come in their uniforms because when I've delivered the next week, I get the disappointed looks. Oh, you're not in the uniform like the guy that came last week. So they are very appreciative, and I think it's been really helpful for our neighbors to see these young people out and about and looking to, further a career in cadets. So please pass along to them our extreme appreciation for them. I talked a little bit prior when we were meeting with the Australian mayor to Captain Kleinston about Cedar Park Road. That's constantly on my mind because I walk it every single morning, and it is a raceway. I know that we set up a speed apparatus right in August, right before school started, but I know that there are other speedways in Annapolis, and if you guys can spare people to either do that, or if we can look at more cameras, the flashing cameras that say you're going this fast, I think that will help. I know that there was, I think the captain gave me the statistics of the number of drivers that went by, and it seemed like the average speed was about 35 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. And when you've got kids crossing the street on bicycles and, mothers with 3 or 4 strollers, Cedar Park just needs to be safer. We're working at ways to make it less attractive to speed from Glen Avenue down to Wendell, but anything that you guys can do to help, even from 7:20 in the morning until 7:50 when the elementary school kids are walking.
Yeah, I would say that speaking to that and the struggle it is for the different areas where we have community concerns is that, there are 8 elementary schools in the city of Annapolis, and they all start at the same time now. It used to be that they were somewhat staggered and we could kind of hit them pretty good. But I think working with Public Works on ways to reduce the speed, and then also, we have an existing speed camera on Cedar Park further down, but considering if it's feasible to move it to another location. And I know Captain Kleindens, he is over the traffic safety and patrol, and they do the bulk of those types of enforcement details. So reaching out to him, that's the way to go, because he always responds to people who contact us with concerns. They'll do a detail. We'll try and move the VMS sign that is movable that we have. We also are using those for a lot of the city events. because the city only has so many of those signs. We ended up buying some of our own, but now they get used for other things as well. But those are very effective in reducing speed as well.
Do you know ballpark what one of those signs cost?
I wasn't in this position when we bought those, so I don't have a good
I don't know
idea.
what they were.
Yeah, I'll have to look.
I think we got it through a grant, didn't we? So not sure. We can figure out and get back with you.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I would love to put together a program for communities to say, look, do you want this in your community? And the cost is this. So
but
let's do a community fundraiser and buy one for.
I tell you what generally happens when we get those complaints about traffic and we go out and we do the studies and we do the enforcement. 9 times out of 10 is people who live in the community that's, have these violations, and then we get the same, can you take it out? Can you stop? Or can you take care of this ticket? So, we'll go in and we'll do the enforcement, but generally speaking, it's the parents of the students and people who live in the community that does that.
Right. I get that. My husband puts his arm out and waves madly at them as they go by. I appreciate that. And my last question for you, you started to talk about your staffing and all of the people retiring and whatnot. Do you, maybe this is not really a fair question, but do you think that the impact of all of the overtime that officers have had comes into play when somebody is close to retirement? Is that, are we in a vicious circle? They're retiring because they're just tired, and they used to stay along.
Well, some of the retirements that we have is mandatory retirement because of the drop program. So I know we have a sergeant and lieutenant that's leaving because they reached that mandatory threshold. I think some of the officers are in that position also. Officers retire for a lot of reasons. If they're young enough, they take opportunities elsewhere. Some of them just move on just to do something different. We see people to leave and get out of law enforcement altogether to take civilian positions. So there's a whole host of reasons why someone would leave. Recruitment, I think every agency, probably in the country, but in this region, is competing for the same pool of people, which was the reason why we came back to the table for contract negotiations to ask for the bonuses. That is attractive to get people in. The take-home cars was attractive to get people in. Once they get here, especially with this age group, you got to think of innovative things to keep them excited and keep them here. That's why they loved some of the toys, the computers in the cars, some of the opportunities. The motorcycles that we got, we thought would be a great incentive for some of the younger folks not to get bored, to go and get their license for the motorcycles. We put those two-wheelers out. Forget the name of those things. Hopefully they want to go downtown and do certain things. So they have plenty of overtime opportunity. I don't think that necessarily, and we don't have a whole lot of mandatory overtime. We kind of combat that a couple of years ago, especially during COVID when we had a lot of mandatory overtime, but I don't think that's the issue.
Yeah, I was going to speak to that, just that so far this year, there's only been a couple people that have been ordered in more than once. So given that usually 4th of July is a big one where people don't want to sign up for it, and then we go through the list for who we need. That's not like it has been in subsequent years. And the change in the union contract to allow us to, instead of always starting at the bottom, every new event basically, so hitting those new people over and over again, it's allowing us to go all through the service years. So that's worked out really well. I would say with the retirements, again, the 5 at the end of the year, they're in the drop. The union would not let us extend the drop for those officers, so they have to go. And then we have some retirements where people hit their 20, which is the lowest amount, and they're gone. we've seen more of that since the changes in police work. I know locally we get a lot of support, and we get a lot of support from the community that come and tell us how much we're appreciated. But it's really hard when there's a national narrative about police work, when most of the people coming to work are trying to just do the best that they can for the people that they see every day. And it's just really downheartening sometimes to do that work and then not feel appreciated.
Right,
Well said.
great. Thank you.
Thank you. What can we do?
Approve our budget.
It's a simple answer.
No, I think the council give us plenty of support. You guys have been supportive. I think the things that we asked for in the past for budget concerns and priorities, I think we've gotten them. We know that as a city as a whole, that there's a lot of priorities that the city have. So I think we feel very supportive when it comes to the city council. So I can't think of any particular thing we asked you guys for that we have not gotten, or at least you guys haven't give us a real good opportunity to try to get those things. So
Help us get more Annapolitans that want to be police officers.
I guess start with the high school, and start with Adam and Brendan maybe, to see if they're, when they go deliver the meals, and are you interested in it? No. But start with them, the younger ones in the high. I don't know what kind of program you might have at the high school, either St. Mary's or Annapolis Area Christian or Annapolis High. Had you thought about that? Or are you doing that?
we have, and Murphy goes out, he connects with the high school, myself and the chief, we even recruited, the security guard that's here, we was trying to recruit him to come in and become a police officer. We at least got him to put an application to come and look at the cameras. Hopefully by being around that atmosphere, that he'll change his mind and he'll join the ranks of being a police officer. Every time we stop in a restaurant, we see young folks, we'll talk to them. And I think every officer has done the same. And we have had some of our officers recruit. It's been more successful when they come from another agency and when we take in laterals. That has saved us quite a bit. So we get more laterals, I think, lately than we have new recruits. But we're always recruiting. I think it's everybody's effort to get that done.
And you all have done a really good job of community outreach, so, you just never know. I've watched the resource fairs. I've been to all of them this summer, and I've been very pleased about the reception. And I mentioned it to Sergeant Becker, we were at one location, and even little children, 3, 4, 5 years old, were coming up to him, and they were blowing bubbles together. And I remarked to him, I said, I remember the times when we would go to certain communities and parents were like, get away from him. Don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. And I said to him, I said, this is a refreshing change. And he looked at me and he said, yes, you're right. And so I would suggest that you continue that, but also utilize that as a tool. And even the older children, say 13, 14, 15, they were coming over and having conversations with him. Just random information. But that is something I noticed particularly this summer. Like I said, I've been to every one of them, and it's been a refreshing change to watch that. And I would utilize those opportunities, especially to talk to young people or just continue to engage, but just mention it as an aside if they had ever been used to it, or if you have some opportunity where they can take a tour or something like that, or something that kind of, because as a young person, we all remember those field trips or whatever we went on. They really made a difference. Even though if we didn't go into that profession, still we remember them from years past, that they really made a difference in what we decided maybe to do in life, but even staying on the straight and narrow path. But Sergeant Becker looked at me and was like, yeah. I said, I remember that, when people were like, get away from them. And to me, that shows real progress in the Annapolis Police Department.
Well, I give kudos to the supervisors and to the officers and the chief, myself, and I'm pretty sure Captain Miguez and others. I can't tell you how many emails and letters we get sometime by citizens who say they had positive interaction with our police officers. So I think it's something that's contagious and it goes department-wide. And I give kudos to those supervisors and sergeants. They interact very well with the community.
Leadership matters. Just as an aside as well, you know, last night we have a new alderperson for Ward 1, so you might want to just reach out to Alderman Huntley just to introduce yourselves, and that goes for all 3 of our public safety teams, to just let him know, because for one thing, it's the biggest budget that we have in the city. And that's, I won't say ally, but that's a friend that you want to make early on to kind of give him an indication of the things that you're doing, and to reach out to him and see if he has any suggestions as well. As far as the VMS signs, yes, I'm very curious too. How much do they cost? Because if they're that successful, then that's something that needs to go in your budget the next time around. And as Alderwoman O'Neill said, there may be a community. My grandson attends Germantown, and my daughter asked me would I help out with at Germantown parking cars. So they assigned me to Phoenix on Saturday, and I'm not going to tell you how much money they made for the PTA. We're going to leave that alone. But I know they use it for equipment, field trips, and school supplies. But you never know, because it does benefit the children there, as Alderwoman O'Neill said. So you never know what they might be able to do for you. I told them I'll be at the next one as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a lot of fun. My grandson and I had a good time. But anyway, so just those kind of tidbits and linkages and partnerships that you may want to reach out to. I met the PTA president, and I know Alderwoman O'Neill, I'm sure, knows who she is. But it was a great experience and very enlightening as well. But anyway, I think that's all I have, unless you have anything else.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And Assistant City Attorney Berger, do you have anything to add or comment on? Okay. Well, thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? I know that the Eastport Civic Association this evening is having their annual picnic, and it is an opportunity to thank our public safety teams. And so we always try to make sure that we make that trip, and I hope the fire department, and I know they're going over as well. And I think Dave Mandel from OEM, Deputy Chief, will be there as well. So I'll see you all there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank you,
else for the good of the, one other thing. I just want to mention, I know we had not had a meeting since December. As I always say, I try to make sure that you all make the most of your time. I don't want to take you away from what's really, really, really important. But ID 13904 is a public safety report that I prepared in June. It's been on the agenda, and it's also out there as to what has been happening since December that I knew about. Of course, you all have enlightened us about more things as well, but I want to thank Ms. Kaylin for loading that up for us. And everybody can take a look at it and see what you all have been working on. And today, additionally, it's a lot of work, and much of it goes on behind the scenes, not in these meetings. So with that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is 5:27. Thank you all so much.
Yes, ma'am.